That was exciting. You got to admit, that was a good day on the stock market. It kept your interest. I took a beating. I lost about 3% of my portfolio, but I also doubled my position in Facebook, doubled my position, not quite double my position in Google, and bought some additional Simon properties. This is what the stock market's all about. You have to seize the opportunities. It's interesting. I got a email from Brian. Brian lives in New Bedford, Massachusetts. He says it's 40 miles south of Boston. And he asked me the question, how do you deal with the volatility? How do you deal with the fact that you're losing everything that you accumulated? And how do you go on with it? Well, I did a video last week when I talked about this is the time to buy while the blood's in the streets. Well, the streets just got bloodier. There's a reaction. We know what this is all about. In Facebook, it's a dual situation. Verizon basically said they're going to pull their advertising in July, and Verizon is one of Facebook's major players. So that hurt. Then on top of that, the virus is spiking, and people are panicking and saying the economy is going to hell and it's not going to recover. The economy is not going to hell. Yes, there's less spending, and yes, there's more saving, but that's all driven by a virus. It is not driven by any fault of our economy. It's just an event, and the event will end, and it may be a tough time getting through the event, but I'm quite confident that Amazon will be worth more than it was today, and it will be, and Facebook will be worth more. I want you to think about this. This is not the first time this kind of thing happened. Back in '08, everybody was saying doomsday, that the real estate market was collapsing, the banking system was collapsing, and it all turned around. It took a while, but I'm going to go into Brian's letter deeper next week. You need to recognize, how do you deal with this? It's like anything else. If you have a plan, and that plan is built on solid structure, and your structure is, I only buy companies that have solid balance sheets, that are financially strong, and are innovating to take advantage of the future, then what difference does it make that we have a 7% drop in Facebook today, or a 4% drop in Google, and not much in Amazon, but also be aware that Facebook just last month, I think it was something, they spent, what was it, $5.2 billion to buy 10% of the largest telecommunication company in India, because they want to take what they've learned in the United States and how they've made buttloads of money off of 350 million people in the United States, and then go do the same thing in India, where they have 4 times the population. Why would you worry about a company that is so innovative as that? So don't worry about this. I was so pleased that I saw I don't remember the name. I've been in the market. I've been watching the market for 4 months. I'm brand new to it. I've never bought anything, but today I bought some Facebook. Hooray! Hooray! Because that is the best place to start. I'm going to do a video next week that I want to preempt and say it's buy the buyers, avoid the borrowers, and beware of the bankruptcies. When there are hard times, It's the guy with money in his pocket that goes and buys at a discount. I live in Birmingham, Alabama. About 450 miles south of us is the Gulf Coast. The first time I went to the Gulf Coast was, I believe, in about 1983. I could have bought a cinder block house on the Gulf of Mexico on probably an acre of land for probably somewhere in the between $25,000 and $35,000. That same property today is probably worth $4 million, and it doesn't have that cinder block house sitting on it anymore. There are times, and then in 2008, that had all changed, and there were $1 million homes on the beach. And in 2008, those $1 million homes went on sale for $700,000. Still a lot of money. But now those $700,000 homes are $2.4 million. So you have to, as an investor, have foresight. Look forward. Don't worry about today. Today is going to pass. That's the only thing we know for sure. And tomorrow is going to bring new opportunity. So if you have a plan that I want to own the innovators and the disruptors of tomorrow, and I'm going to put my money there and then manage myself. This is another question that I got, and I really want to talk to you about that person in your head, that unwanted roommate today who told you, "Oh my God, you made a mistake. You need to get out of there. This is not what you've got a plan." But you first of all got to find out who this is that's living in your head and why they behave the way they behave. I had the same thing. All throughout my career, I knew everybody was basically conniving against me. I knew that people were talking about me when I was the salesman walking through the soap aisles of supermarkets. I was 22 years old, and I heard the stock boys in the back room laughing while I was putting the bleach bottles, the Purex bleach bottles, in a better position. And I knew they were laughing at me. Bullshit. They didn't give a damn about me. But that neighbor in my head, that roommate, was telling me that. And it wasn't until I got up into my 60s I realized, you got to find out who this son of a bitch is in your head. And I realized that there were 10 days in my life that basically formed my character. And 10 days that one of them was in 5th grade. I couldn't read. I'm dyslexic. I didn't know I was dyslexic. And they put me up in the front of the class, and they asked me to spell second. I tried 5 times to spell the word second, and I got it wrong every time. In 5th grade, I stood in front of that class and cried. And Jay Smith was in the back of the class, and he was laughing, slapping his knee. Just thought that was so funny that Carrie's up there in front of the class crying. We went out to recess, and I beat the shit out of Jay Smith. And he was a friend of mine. And he said, "Why did you do that, Carrie?" And I said, "Jay, you know why I did that." That day haunted me for most of my life because I knew I was dumb. That roommate up here kept reminding me I was dumb. I didn't deserve that. You got to get rid of that roommate. If you don't do anything else from this YouTube channel, read this book and get rid of that roommate and replace them with what I've got now. My biggest fan, the person who wakes me up at 6 o'clock every morning and says, "This is what you've got to share with the world today, Carrie. This is what you've got to help these people understand." And I'm having the time of my life. I got a call today from Holly in Wisconsin. I could tell she was out walking, and she told me she was a lady in her 50s, and her mother, who's in her 70s, introduced her to this channel. And she said, "Carrie, you've changed my life." Well, Holly, you just changed my life. And that's what I'm doing this for, so that I can enjoy my life by sharing with you. So, don't worry about today. You will look back at today and say, I bought in, and I'm going to participate in the most beautiful future that this world has ever seen. And then I get some emails and people say, show us some new growing tech stocks and let us get in on the ground floor. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to compete with Mark Zuckerberg. I'm not going to compete with Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos just bought a startup that was valued at $3.2 billion. I think it's called ZooX. They are in the autonomous automobile business, building the software and all this. I could have never found ZooX, but he bought them for $1 billion. You know why? Because they're having trouble raising money right now. But Jeff's got all the money in the world, so he bought them. Mark bought a mapping company, I think it was out of Sweden, another company who needed financial help. Why would I go compete with Jeff and Mark to try to find those companies? They got a staff. I might be smarter than them, but I don't have their money and I don't have their staff. So I'm going to buy them. And when they go on sale like they did today, Google and Microsoft, I'm buying. This is an opportunity for me to own a company that has some of the smartest people in the world working for it and all the money in the world so they can go out and buy that $250,000 home on the beach that turns into a $4 million home in the years to come. So that's what I want to do. And what you can do is learn to manage yourself, because your biggest enemy lives right up here. And until you get them under control, and until you find out why they talk to you the way that they do, you're going to be miserable. Okay, what an exciting day.